What's up, wrestling fans? I hope you like, comment, share, and subscribe the video. As always, it's been 24 hours. Oh, no. It's been like, I don't know, 15 hours or 8 hours. I don't even know how many hours it's been. I can't do math. I just woke up. Survivor Series is over, and I want to give you my final thoughts without all the live discombobulation on my show. I want to tell you where I'm at with this thing, man. You know, it was kind of the tale of two shows when I think about it now. You know, whereas last night I was just completely drained on it. But I'm gonna make all my points here. I see some people saying it was a great show. Some people, I see most people saying on my end that it was bad. About, I want to say 60% of my audience didn't like it. Other people said they loved it. Other people said it was the best show of the year, main roster-wise. I don't understand how you can come to that conclusion because of maybe a couple good things that happened. You know, there was more than a couple good things that happened at some of the other shows. No shows have been good this year, really. But as far as this being the best show of the year, I don't know. We're going to find out now when I go into this thing. So WWE Survivor Series. Let's go through the matches. Bear with me. I'm still kind of got this cold thing where I'm coughing and stuff. I don't know, man. I'm going to die. Okay, so let's start it. First of all, the prediction show. Real quick, the prediction show was okay. It was just, again, 2 hours is way too long. All you need is 1 hour for the pre-show, not prediction show, but pre-show. There was an awkward exchange with Jerry Lawler, kind of, and Drake Maverick, where I felt like Lawler put Drake Maverick in a position where Drake Maverick needed to respond to Lawler. And I went into depth about that last night on the review, so I'm not going to here. But let's just say the pre-show was all right. But everything that happened on the pre-show was meaningless. None of the matches mattered, which we kind of thought that anyway, but WWE confirmed it later when they didn't count the SmackDown victory towards the main card tally, which is ridiculous. So anyway, I didn't think the match was that good. There was a lot of botches and craziness. The New Day had blue pancakes. A lot of this show was leaked out beforehand, so I actually knew about the blue pancakes, and it was, who cares anyway? It's blue pancakes. I don't care. I had blue balls halfway through this show because I wasn't really getting the wrestling I wanted. So, Survivor Series, man, the Usos pick up the first victory. And the match was pretty much garbage to me, and I couldn't care less. Then they go live from the Staples Center with the first, I guess, official match that counts. That being the women's match. So yay for the women's match starting the show. And again, so I'm pretty down on this whole thing at this point, you know, which is understandable because they're going to start you slow, right? They're going to start you slow with some of the things that don't matter. But, you know, after watching NXT, when you start getting used to NXT with like 4 matches that are like awesome, and even that 5th match that started the show that was a squash, you know, it was just so exciting. And then this was just 2 hours of being bored by the pre-show. And then a match that didn't matter. And then the show starts and we find out that the pre-show match doesn't matter. Anyway, we predicted this to a T. That Nia Jax would be victorious. Obviously because, not necessarily because they're rewarding her for hurting somebody. But, I mean, they had already stated that Nia Jax was facing Ronda next. So you can't have Nia Jax going in to face Ronda if she can't even win the Survivor Series, you know, if she gets pinned. So it was very clear with the fact that Nia Jax was facing Ronda coming up and the heat that she has on her because she really hurt somebody, which is heat that I always is the one heat that I think is kind of stupid. Although if she had seriously hurt somebody, it wouldn't be right. You know, but breaking someone's nose or something like that, you know, I can understand how you could want to use that heat like they are with Nia Jax. So Nia Jax wins. I mean, Becky Lynch and Sasha came out as surprises for whatever dumb reason. First they weren't in it, then they had to wrestle to be in it, then they did, and then they weren't in it. And then all of a sudden there was a fight with the other girls, and now they are in it. I mean, Sasha Banks, I'm assuming it's because Sasha Banks or Bayley were crying about it, that they were put into the match. But how could you not cry if you were those two? With the way the WWE treats Bayley and Sasha, like a couple of idiots. So, you know, I don't blame Sasha if she bitched about this and then got put on the card because, Sasha and Bayley are treated like crap, and they've been painted now in the fans' eyes as kind of like spoiled brat idiots. A lot of the casuals think of them as like two people that I don't get the hype. I don't get the hype with Bayley and Sasha. I don't get why anybody liked them. Really? You don't get why anybody liked them? Go watch NXT. There was a clear reason why people liked them. It's not their fault that WWE's completely buried them. But then again, I understand why the casuals have that opinion, because this is all they watch. They don't watch NXT. They only watch what happens on WWE Raw and SmackDown, and what happens is garbage. And so if you've been watching it, you think Sasha's kind of an idiot, and you don't get it. You don't understand the boss. But if you'd watched her in NXT, you probably would have thought she was the boss. But whatever. That's typical WWE for you. So Nia Jax gets the win. In a way, I thought the match was kind of well done because of what they wanted to do. I didn't care for it, though. And so at this point, I pretty much gave that match a 6 out of 10 or something like that. Maybe 5 out of 10, I don't know. Seth Rollins then faces Nakamura in a match that should have been a classic. But unfortunately, it's weird because we wondered if something would happen with Dean. And Jake made a great point yesterday. One of the things was everybody was distracted looking for Dean. The second thing was that they just never quite mashed up the right way. They ended up, I think, wrestling a 7 out of 10 match. They're capable of a 9 or a 10, I bet. We all think that. But they had a pretty good match. And at that point, it seemed like, that would be the match of the night. And wrestling-wise, it kind of was the match of the night. Wrestling-wise, although there's another match that I think beat it. It wasn't for me, because I don't know what it is, but on NXT, some of those matches on NXT are epic, but Seth and Shinsuke just didn't connect with me the way I thought they would, so they got a 7 out of 10 from me. Then we get to the Raw vs. SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Authors of Pain versus The Bar. And I couldn't care less for this match. And then at some point, Drake Maverick pissed his pants, which I thought was ridiculous because, I don't know, it was just clearly a stupid Vince McMahon joke. I didn't care for it. It didn't make a lot of sense to me why he pissed his pants. They just kind of did it to do it. I think Vince likes Drake probably, or maybe, I don't know. But I know that Vince calls him midget and stuff like that behind the scenes because Vince has a thing with like, oh, you're a little guy, aren't you? You know what I mean? So, I don't know, man. Not a very good match to me, but I like the Authors of Pain went over. That was good. Make sure they did that. So that's the right decision. So at this point, I'm kind of feeling that this show is about a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 at this point. Something like that. Then the cruiserweights come out. Mustafa Ali versus Buddy Murphy. And these guys do their damnedest to entertain everybody. So I really appreciated that. I actually liked this match better than Seth and Shinsuke, which I'm shocked that I did. So they did a good job getting in everything they could get in and flipping around and having some craziness. So, but at this point, still, I'm not that invested in this show. But Buddy Murphy gets the victory as I thought he would. And yeah, so far I pretty much had called everything that happened. So everything went to a T the way we thought. Oh, except for I was wrong about Seth and Shinsuke a bit. In fact, I was really wrong about that, I think. But everything else was like, oh, yep, that's how it, this is boring. So at this point, I'm at about a 5 or a 6 out of 10 for this show. Maybe I'm bumping up to a 6.5 because of the 205 Live match. Then the Raw 5-on-5 men's traditional elimination match happens, which I hate these things. And they basically do the same thing they did last year. Now, looking at it without pretending this was the only match that ever happened like this, it was pretty good. They really had the crowd into it. That was one of the things about this. The crowd was so into this at one point. So they really did a good job of keeping the crowd involved in this thing. There was some really cool moments and stuff, but again, Shane was sort of a repeat of what he did last year. And so for everything kind of just being a repeat, and oh my God, everybody wearing the Raw and SmackDown shirts is irritating as hell. I think that's almost why Seth and Shinsuke wasn't as good. I don't know why. I don't know why, but them wearing the shirts was goofy, as it always is. But I wish they would just stop doing that. But in the end, as we thought, Raw gets the victory. Strowman, Lashley, Drew McIntyre. Then Baron Corbin gets a shot in on Braun Strowman. whatever. But, they're progressing stories here. They progressed more stories on this show tonight than they do on Raw usually. That's the one other thing that you can give this show credit for, is this show kind of created some stories and furthered some stories, which is weird because they don't normally ever do. If they only did this stuff on Raw, they might actually get more excitement going for other things. But so that was pretty solid for the most part. I hated it in a way because it was, again, a copy. So I took points away because I was like, well, I saw this last year, So whatever, it is what it is. I give it a 6 out of 10. If you pretend that last year didn't happen, I could see how someone would give it maybe an 8 out of 10 or a 7.5 out of 10. And I could see how some people would just hate on it completely because of the copycat. So 3 out of 10 maybe they'd give it. But I'll say it's a 6 out of 10, whatever. So at this point, I really do believe the show's sort of a 6 out of 10 show, maybe a 5 out of 10 show, something like that. I think last night I was trying to give it a 4. I think I would raise my score at this point. I wouldn't raise it to the heights that some of these other people are, because at this point so far on the show, we've had nothing happen really, right? At this point of the show now, nothing really has happened. All the Survivor Series versus Raw matches, don't care. Shinsuke and Seth was good, but didn't really reach that pinnacle. The 205 Live match was really pretty good, but it was a lot of flippity-floppity and not a lot of, a wrestling story to me. But finally, now this is the moment where the night turns. Thank God. Whatever you thought about the previous 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours if you watched the pre-show, Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair. Charlotte and Ronda. And there's so much to say about this. First of all, I loved how this match built. This match was building with excitement. I was actually really excited. I said out loud, this is the best match of the night right now. They were probably halfway through it, and I said, this is already, to me, the best match of the night. And there really wasn't a lot of build, but there was this weird feeling that Charlotte was fighting for Becky. Going into it, we said, oh, there'll be no emotion because Becky's not there even. Like, what the hell? But halfway through it, it really felt like, it didn't feel like to me necessarily that Charlotte was really fighting for Becky, but I felt like she was. They could have put anybody in there, and I would have felt that way, like, go get her, for Becky. There was that sort of vibe in my head, and that's what kind of built the excitement a bit. And it built up, and I was like, wow, this match could end up being a classic. Now, unfortunately, the match ended a little sooner than I wanted it to, and it also ended by DQ. So that was bad to me. That was a thumbs down. But then the attack by Charlotte was so vicious, it was awesome. So now I'm like, this is awesome, man. But then another thought floated through my head, which was, oh my God, they're going to steal Becky's thunder. They're going to steal Becky's fire. She's white hot right now. They're stealing it and giving it to Charlotte. Now, other people saw this as finally they're turning Charlotte heel, and they're doing with Charlotte what they should have done because Becky's a face. I mean, I don't know why, but I see it different. I see it as now they're giving everything that Becky was doing to Charlotte. I'm worried Becky's going to get left behind. I think Becky is going to get left behind. That's what I'm worried about. So I had all these mixed emotions going on at this point. And I know guys like Solomonster and some other people were like, this is great. Finally they did what they needed to do with Becky. But I just didn't see it like that. I saw it as, whoa, what are they doing? Like, they're kind of giving Charlotte Becky's gimmick now. Like, it started working with Becky that she was a badass, and now they're giving it, now Charlotte's doing it, and even crazier. And so I was a little worried about that. But anyway, she puts the chair around the throat. I mean, dude, looking at it as a single thing and pretending Becky didn't exist or whatever, that I'm not worried about her being left behind. Awesome. Match of the night. This was the match of the night. This was the event and the match of the night, regardless of it ending in a DQ. Unfortunately, Ronda should have been stretchered out, or she should have been much more hurt than she was with a chair across the throat. They should have had her on breathing tubes or something, and maybe they didn't want to do that. Maybe they didn't want to create that vulnerability with her. So that's understandable that they didn't want to do that, you know?
I swear to God, if something pops out at me again, I'm done. Now I'm just deaf.
I thought these would cover your ears.
I had that one off.
And so basically, this was the match of the night to me. It's a combination of two different things. Number one, you don't often see this. A lot of times you see a match that ends in a DQ like this, where the match wasn't that good anyway. It was just kind of they were going through all these motions, and then at the end something crazy happens, and it didn't matter anyway, but they tell a good story. But to me, you had a match that I think was really good. I thought the match was really good, and it could have been great and amazing and reached another level, but then it just ended with a DQ. So, but because of the match and the story of what they were doing, I really enjoyed what they did with Charlotte, and it was the better match of the night. Now, I compare it to NXT matches the night before, and by the way, I weigh heavily on entertainment, like in storytelling. You know what I mean? So that means a lot to me. And I'd probably give Charlotte versus Ronda a 7.5. If they continued with an epic match, they probably could have had an 8 or an 8.5. But I really liked what they did, and I gave it a 7.5. It may be even an 8 out of 10. But it certainly was the match of the night. But I'll say 7.5 because it's incomplete in a way. But it was great. I really enjoyed it. Match of the night. So there you go. Now all of a sudden something positive has happened on Survivor Series to me. I thought everything before this was not positive. So anybody who was saying the show was the best show of the year, you know, I thought was on drugs because most of the show had pretty much kind of sucked and been insulting, actually, until Ronda versus Charlotte. And now we get to the last match of the night. Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan. I wondered why all week they've been saying, oh, Daniel Bryan's going to get killed. He's going to get murdered. It was kind of stupid that everybody was saying, oh, rest in peace, Daniel Bryan, and goodbye, Daniel Bryan. He's going to die. Because Brock Lesnar a year ago faced AJ Styles. Nobody said, rest in peace, AJ Styles, and AJ Styles is going to die. Nobody said that. The fans were saying it, and the WWE was even saying it. They were the ones pushing that agenda. It's like, why are you saying that, you know, rest in peace, Daniel Bryan, and, you know, he's going to die, when we all saw AJ Styles, a guy who's the same height as Daniel Bryan, take on Brock Lesnar last year and fare pretty well against him. So I didn't understand it, the narrative, but I get it. They were trying to build a story. So okay, I get why. To me, it didn't make sense because no one said, well, what about AJ? He held his own with Brock last year. They're like the same size. Why doesn't Daniel Bryan have a chance? You know, nobody said that. You know, so to me, it's not logical, but whatever. I get it. They're trying to tell a story, so let's look at it like that. Then Daniel Bryan just gets the shit kicked out of him. Well, first of all, I love Daniel Bryan's swagger when he got to the ring. He's acting all crazy. He's taunting Brock. He's running around the ring, everything, the psychology. Absolutely loved what Daniel Bryan did. That was awesome. Then he gets the crap beat out of him, and it's terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying. And Brock's beating his ass and beating his ass. And now I'm starting to think, oh, my God, he hasn't beaten him yet. I'm like, dude, what if Daniel Bryan hits his knee out of nowhere and wins the match? And I'm like, holy shit. So then the referee gets taken out, and then you see, oh my God, he's going to do it. And then he hit him with the knee and then covered him. I was like, oh my God. Then he didn't win. So they swerved me there because I thought, whoa, wait a second. So now at this point, Brock Lesnar and Daniel Bryan have a really good match for Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is selling like a maniac. You know what I mean? He was selling like a maniac. Like Dean Ambrose is probably raging somewhere because Brock would not do that for Dean Ambrose, but Brock did it for Daniel Bryan. He went to clothesline Bryan at one point, went flying over the top rope. I mean, that was awesome. Dude, you really got to give it up to Brock, man. He looked like he was just fucking, he got the knee to the head. He would look like Cena taking the knee. I mean, Brock Lesnar, man, he looked like Daniel Bryan selling in there. It was crazy. He looked like Brock Lesnar was Shawn Michaels selling last night. So this was a pretty good match. And then in the end, Brock Lesnar wins. Here's the criticism, though. Here's the criticism with Daniel Bryan, Brock Lesnar. It was halfway, again, a copy of what AJ Styles did with Brock Lesnar last year. Same thing with the submission at the end, and then Brock just being like, F you, and then grabbing him and F5ing him, and then it being over. So it was very similar to kind of AJ Styles to me last year. So that was the one thing. It was sort of like a lot of things tonight. It was like, am I watching Survivor Series last year? But like, it's like when you make a sequel movie and most of the sequel is the same, but people kind of like it because that's what they want. That's what sort of happened to me at this Survivor Series. But that's just my opinion. But let's score this as another good match. You know, I don't know. I don't know what was better, the Charlotte and Ronda thing or this. I suppose because this got a complete result, maybe I'd give it an 8, and it would surpass the Charlotte Ronda thing, maybe. But I don't know. I guess I'm really stuck on both of them. I feel like they were equal. I mean, I could compromise with everybody and give it both an 8. I could say Brock and Daniel was an 8 or a 7.5. And Charlotte and Ronda was a 7.5. I'd do that. So all in all, you know, I think that last night I gave the show a 5 at one point. I was saying on my review last night that I think it's a 5 out of 10. Another point I dropped it to a 4 out of 10. And after reflecting on it today and watching it, I just can't say that those two matches, but they did involve the champions. So all the champions matches look good. So as it kind of should, I guess. But the other matches were so bad that they dragged the score down. And I feel pretty confident in saying that this wasn't the best show of the year. But as far as the main roster, it was not the best show of the year, but it was close. It might have been second or third, behind maybe Evolution and something else. I will say that with the main event matches, the two main event matches, they were the most creative they've been at trying to build something. So that was nice. But you know, that 30 minutes of good stuff just didn't allow me to give this a better rating for the 2.5, 3 hours of garbage. Not to mention SmackDown won on the pre-show, and it didn't even count. But none of that stuff matters as much to me. As a whole, I'd probably say this show is somewhere between around a 5 or a 6 to me. I'd go 6. I'll go a 6 out of 10 at the most with this show, because I guess the main event and Charlotte and Ronda, but and you know, Seth and Shinsuke was pretty good. It was like okay. And the 205 Live match was kind of exciting. So it was like half the show was horrifying and half the show was horrifying and a quarter of the show was okay and another quarter of the show was kind of awesome. So that's how the show broke down for me. And you know, you can go into the past of WWE in the 90s and other times like that where if you watch the whole show now, pretty much most of the show isn't very good until they get to the main event. And the main event is kind of exciting because, or like maybe the IC match is exciting. You know, so it's not like it's not normal, but when you look at a thing like NXT, which delivers on every match almost, and then you look at this, I mean, it's not even close. I gave NXT a 9 out of 10. I'm not going to give this show an 8 out of 10, you know? I'm not going to give Survivor Series an 8 out of 10 when I give NXT a 9 out of 10. You know, Survivor Series was a 6 out of 10 or something like that to me. But there you go. Those are my final thoughts on WWE Survivor Series. If you guys want to support my channel, check down below for my merchandise. I have t-shirts available that you can buy. Otherwise, you guys can become patrons and get my bonus content and podcasts on Patreon. Patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show. And we'll be giving shout-outs tonight for all the people who are at $25 and above on Patreon, all the associate producers. And longtime supporters of the Joe Cronin Show, too. And thank you guys so much on 60,000 subscribers. I didn't make a video on it yet. Maybe I will. I don't know. But I am thankful that we hit 60,000 subscribers last night. That is awesome. Welcome to all the new people who are listening. I hope you enjoy the content. I hope you'll leave some comments down below. Leave a like if you'd like to. And if you're new, again, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on more content that we do here. Also, Beer Battered Wife. Thank you for pledging $10 a month on patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show. Thanks for becoming a patron of mine, Beer Battered Wife. Welcome to the JCS Army. Beer Battered Wife. Maybe someone should call the cops on your wife. On your husband, rather. Jesus. Somebody call the cops on your husband. Those are my final thoughts. What are yours? Leave your ratings down below in the comment section, and I will see you guys tonight for the Monday Night Raw review live after Raw right here on the channel. Here's some other videos that you guys might have missed, plus a link to my Patreon and some other things popping up right now on the screen for you. Check these other videos out. Click on these things, and let's share. Let's binge watch the Joe Cronin Show today. I have over 3,000 videos on YouTube, and some of them are weird.